Thanks everybody for being here today. We appreciate it. Today we are focusing on IBM and their cyber resilience solutions based around a number of technologies, storage being a key component there, sponsored by KIS and IBM. As many of you know, looking at the attendees, you're familiar with KIS. We're a long time solution provider here in the Bay Area with a reach nationwide if need be. And we focus on all things IT related, access control, cabling, security is a big part of our current makeup. And so with cyber resilience from IBM, I think it's a very pertinent discussion we'll have today. This is an open format, as those of you who have been here before are aware. If you have any questions at all at any time, please raise your hand, utilize the chat or the messaging capability in the presentation. And from there, John, are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Again, my name's John Ford. I'm a IBM Flash System Sales Specialist, and our topic today is how IBM is harnessing the capabilities of AI and machine learning and sort of an interdisciplinary approach between security, hardware, and software to present a best practices, best approach methodology that is unique to IBM and available through KIS. One of the, I think everybody probably knows who IBM is, but just in the event, I'll make the high level pitch. We're an $80 billion global company. We're a world leader in IT. Typically, people think of us in terms of just enterprise only, meaning Fortune 500 applications for some of the world's largest financial institutions and banks and healthcare environments and so forth. But actually, we have taken our innovative technology, which is unique to IBM, and made it very affordable and very available to entry and SMB level customers. And I'm excited to share about that today. So I want to thank KIS, and I also want to thank TD SYNNEX, by the way, who is sponsoring this and has generously provided some incentives for trivia questions that I'm going to ask throughout, just to make sure that you're listening to this presentation. So we want to keep it fun.
John,
yes.
John, they're always listening. Come on.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
And
so oh, go ahead, Jane.
yeah, let's do the trivia game.
Okay, so I've got 2 or 3 slides I'm going to do first. And the way I'm going to do the trivia, the way I understand that it works best, is we're going to have at least 3 questions, 1 towards the start, 1 at the middle, and again, 1 at the end. So first, we're going to talk about the scope and the state of the nation, if you will, with cyber attacks today.
Okay. Yes. And let me just couple of things. One more
for
thing.
sure.
You had 3 questions in the
I
beginning. Yeah. Okay. So just want to be on the same. So, but go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I will ask 3 questions. Are you going to ask them, or would you like me to when we get to that transition
Mike
slide?
will read. Mike will help out. He's gonna read it, but I will initiate the polling. We will have the poll feature, so the window will pop up, as most of you might have already seen, and you'll just choose your answer to submit it, and we'll see what is the correct answer afterwards.
Easy peasy.
Yep.
So 83% of organizations today have been breached by a cyber attack. So despite the ongoing, efforts that the security department has with VPNs and firewalls and multi-factor authentication and unique passwords and everything else that we do, it is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry, And it seems that these bad actors are always a step ahead. I mean, we've heard, I don't know if all of you heard about the huge attack. It's one of the largest of its kind last month at United Healthcare. But United Healthcare provides 50% of the funding for all medical services in the United States. And they were hacked. It was a Russian operation, apparently. They've tracked it back to that. They had to pay $22 billion in, $22 million in Bitcoin. And even still, they didn't recover all of the patient data. So it was quite severe. The average cost of the attacks these days is 5.2 million. And painfully, the average recovery time for most clients is 23 days to fully recover from a cyber attack. And then you add on to it government regulations. So by law today, if you're publicly traded or you're a government entity, you have to report a cyber breach within 72 hours. And there are stiff penalties and regulations. You can see here a $10 million penalty if you're not in compliance with early reporting. So it's quite severe. I wonder if can I hide this screen, Jane? Let's see here on the right so that we're not covering some of my slides. There we go. Cyber attacks are up 200% year over year. No surprise there. 17% of all cyber attacks are indeed ransomware. And we know there are both active threats as well as dormant threats. Those dormant threats, on average, if you look into it, can lay dormant for extended periods of time. The solar winds, I believe it was over a year that the bad actors had been in there before they launched their attack. But 21% of the threats today are dormant threats as opposed to active attacks. Another interesting statistic here before we get into solutions and best practices is 26% of all attacks are going to be some form of ransomware. And keep in mind, the primary attack vector of this, of your Trojan horses and your malware are going to go after your backups first, because they know that's your frontline defense for recovery if they encrypt your production data. And again, let me say that today the average recovery time of a cyber event is 23 days. How are these bad actors getting in? They get more and more clever all the time. QR codes, which became so prevalent, certainly during COVID, you couldn't get a menu in a restaurant there a few years ago. But you see QR codes popping up literally everywhere. They're omnipresent. And yet, if you scan that into your phone and you're not really sure of the source that links to, that can also link to a nefarious site. And by doing that, you are opening a back door again to potentially malware and Trojan horses. The sophisticated attacks that all of us experience on our phones today too is the hackers now have very sophisticated phishing attacks where they may know the name of a relative or your employment information or your bank information and send you a text message that looks really legitimate, and the likelihood is you're gonna click on it. So I'm sure everybody on the phone knows all of these various ways that these attacks can happen. But they continue to evolve. And as I said before, there's just really no possible way to stay in front of them. So eventually, it's not a question if companies like United Healthcare, Continental Pipeline, Eddie Bauer, the list goes on. If those companies with multi-million-dollar security budgets and large security teams can get hacked, so can your company too. And so, increasingly, it is falling on the shoulders of the infrastructure teams, which includes storage and the backup teams, to be prepared to recover quickly when that cyber event happens. So this is a good point for a couple of trivia questions. There were three I think I touched upon at least two of these three were touched upon in the first couple of slides. Mike,
All
do you want
right.
to ask those questions?
Yep, you're muted. Mike, just ask you
There we go.
to.
Yep, I had
There
a
you
phone
go.
call coming in. So first trivia question, and folks, I hate to say this, but if you don't get this, I'll be upset. What is the average number of days to recover from a ransomware attack? Okay,
Yes. Yeah,
all
we
right.
have some music too. Yes. All right, we have let's do 5, 4, 3,
3,
2, and 1.
1.
Yes, and let's share the results. Well, everybody's correct. 54%. Yeah. 23 days. I believe that is correct answer.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes. So
Applause.
do we have time for another trivia question? Is it key?
Yes. We
All right.
have 2 more. All right.
All right.
Let's
So
merge
what
it.
is the average cost of a ransomware attack?
All right, it's a 3
Wow.
trillion. 5.2 million is 600K or 1 billion. What is it? There it is. Yes. And let's do 5, 4, 3,
3,
2,
2,
and 1.
1.
All right. So what's the correct answer?
5.2 million.
Yes, it's 5.2 million. Good job. 69% answered correctly.
All right. So people are paying attention. And the last trivia question. Are you ready, Jane?
You know what?
Yes.
Can we postpone and use that last trivia question? Because in all fairness, I'm looking at the questions. I didn't share that yet, but that's coming up.
No, you did not, John. And I thought that was kind of a ringer that you were throwing.
Yes.
So
I think we should do it. I think
You
we
want to
should.
do it anyway?
Yes,
Okay, let's do
yes,
it
yes.
anyway. Or I can
Yes.
delay it till the next segment. It's up to you.
Let's cue it up. Let's just go ahead and cue it up.
Okay, let's do it.
What is the essential first step to recovery from ransomware encrypting your data? So keep that in your pocket, audience.
Yes. Is it? One
Oh, I
second,
see. Okay.
Yes. Is it immediate playing the ransomware demanded by the attackers? Disconnecting all network devices to isolate the affected system, restoring from your most recent traditional backup, or an update to data clean, immutable copy prior to ransomware attack. All right, so let's have 5 more seconds, excuse me. 5, 4, 2, 3, and 1. And the poll. All right, share results. So what is that correct? What is it correct? People say it's B, or disconnecting all network device to isolate the affected system. Is that correct?
No,
Mike, John?
that's not the answer we were looking for. That is a good practice. So that I can't say that that's absolutely incorrect, but the answer that we were really searching for is to have an immutable copy prior to the attack that is identified as clean that you can quickly recover from. That's the one we were looking for.
Yes, so it's the last one, C. All right, that was a good one. That was a good question. All right, John, go ahead.
Okay, so I am trying to proceed to the next slide, and for some reason it's not progressing. Do I have to close out of the this to progress it?
You still see the trivia game, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a question. It was
locked up on me. I think I stayed on that screen for too long and now I can't seem to proceed. What's a good way to unlock this? There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Now I'm proceeding. Okay, so IBM talks about business resilience. And as I mentioned before, there is this morphing or integration between cybersecurity and infrastructure and traditional data protection now. And these are not siloed departments or functions, but there is an integration of those that need to come together when dealing with modern day cyber threats. And that's what we term cyber resiliency. So looking at security, their primary focus is on predicting attacks, focusing on the perimeter, isolating the attacks, and then being able to remediate using SIM and SOAR tools once an attack happens. But if the attack makes it through the perimeter for whatever reasons, and they will, as we pointed out, it's not a matter of if, but when, then it becomes the IT department's responsibility to quickly recover the business, to have that immutable copy, that pre-attack physically isolated or logically isolated, whether that be on tape or a cloud or a backup device, and then have a well-documented rapid recovery plan to get up and running so that you can cut that 23-day average recovery down to something, significantly less. So if we look at traditional data recovery or disaster recovery and disaster recovery tools, we were basically preparing for, large physical natural disasters that were regional. So we were looking at fires and floods and earthquakes and, things of that nature that were fairly infrequent in nature, but you needed to be prepared. You had to find RPOs and RTOs, and you actually had an identified point in time when whatever that natural event was occurred. And so it was easier at that point to use a traditional backup methodology and technology to get back to normal. And in fact, in many cases, it was, replicating to a secondary site with HA, whether that be synchronous or asynchronous, in a different physically regional zone or a cloud that you could quickly recover from. But by contrast, a cyber event, there is not a known point in time. As I mentioned, many of these threats lay dormant for extended periods of time. And rather than being a 0-day event, which is a complete lockdown, it may go after certain VMs or certain applications. And, in some cases, if it's a dormant threat, the bad actors can be exfiltrating your data and selling it on the dark web, client information, employee information, whatever, over a period of time. So it's a very different recovery process. And I'm sure, again, I can appreciate everybody on this phone understands that. What I am just about to segue to, and I'm going to try and keep this brief and crisp, is how IBM is approaching this, modern day threat and doing it uniquely and differently than some of the other players in the market. First off, we classify your information. So we realize that not all applications and workflows are treated equally. Was there a question, or was that just background?
Background.
Okay, so primary workloads are going to be those mission critical, or we call them internally minimum viable company workloads that you absolutely need to recover from in a matter of hours, if not minutes, or ideally seconds, and have a very quick recovery from. But not all applications and all workloads are that critical to your data. So there are other more cost-effective solutions and approaches to recovering what we call secondary workloads. What IBM is doing for primary workloads, once we've identified them and sized them and help you determine, your cost per hour that you're down, and we can establish an RPO and an RTO to take snapshots of those critical production copies and keep them on a immutable copy that is on array, and that is unique to IBM. Let me proceed to the next slide. here. We developed a technology called a safeguarded copy, which is a logical immutable storage pool. And just to clarify, immutable copies are copies that can't be encrypted or modified with ransomware or malware. They can't be deleted. From an internal actor, we have a dual administrator multi-factor authentication process. So no single disgruntled employee could go in and delete your safeguarded snap copies on a bad day. And we've taken this technology, which IBM originally developed for mainframe customers, again, some of those extremely large enterprise Fortune 500 customers. And now we make it available even on our entry-level NVMe systems, which I'll give you a little bit more detail as we proceed as to what our flash systems look like. But this safeguarded immutable copy is a standard feature built within the software code. It's not an upgrade. It's not only on our enterprise class products like some of the other storage solutions on the market. It doesn't require, multiple systems to be purchased. It is a basic feature function, if you will, of all of our flash NVMe based arrays. Now, some of the other things that make us different here in terms of our recovery process is that we believe that it's necessary, and I think the industry believes, because of, as I mentioned, many of these attacks are dormant and many of them are going to go after your backups, that you need to continually test and do deep scans, not only of your backups, which you should be doing on a regular basis, but also of your point-in-time copies in your safeguarded copy vault to make sure they're clean. Because if you get locked down with a zero-day event, you want to recover fast and you want to have a known clean copy. You don't want to have to be sifting through backups from or copies and starting the process of identifying which is your clean copy. Now, these clean copies are automatic. There's a scheduling function within our softwares that you can set it up to take a snap copy of whatever workloads you determine are most mission critical in whatever intervals you want to do it. So you can do them once a day, once every 3 hours, whatever interval. And the retention period is also completely variable. So, you can keep them up to a year, but that is excessive. In most cases, people will keep the safeguarded copies anywhere from 3 to 7 days to, at most 30 days. It does require a reserve of capacity on your flash system. Typically, we just swag it, unless we do a deep study with you, as about 15 to 20% of the overall capacity of your storage array is reserved for these immutable copies to be kept on array. We're capable of doing both a point-in-time recovery, or we have additional software if you're running certain applications like Oracle or SAP. Epic is another one, and I believe SQL Server is now supported to do a crash consistent copy. So we can acquiesce the production workload and take that snap copy, which is going to be continually moved over into a clean room and deep scanned, and do a quick restore from that. So one of the key differentiators, but besides the continual scanning and the automatic scheduling, is the fact that these immutable copies are on array. I'm going to go back a slide just because I think this makes more sense in this sequence. Our rapid recovery tools, we have software tools called Storage. Well, the whole portfolio is called Storage Defender, and it's really a menu of a variety of different technologies. But Data Protect and Storage Protect are our cyber backup and recovery, rapid recovery solutions. But I will say, in a open approach that IBM takes, the same functionality that we do on our own backup and recovery tools, we also support on Rubrik, on Cohesity, on Veeam. So what I'm talking about today doesn't have to be an all IBM solution. We work with non-IBM backup and recovery tools as well. And I will say, with our hardware moving forward, well, I'll just talk to it and not necessarily show the slide. With our hardware, we do external virtualization, so we can extend the same functionalities that I'm talking about with continuous data scanning at the controller level, and externally virtualized. Let's say you're running Dell today, or you're running HPE. There's actually dozens and dozens of different hardware platforms that we can externally virtualize and take this same functionality that I'm talking about on IBM storage and extend it to your non-IBM storage. So here is sort of a depiction here. I know it's a little rudimentary, so if you want to chuckle to yourself, you can, but it's a good explanation of how it works. So here's a typical work environment where somebody that doesn't have a cyber resiliency solution that's robust, the various software gets into their production workload, and because it's dormant, it's backed up. And now it's in the backup, and it's going to go back to it's resided in the production workload. And because it still hasn't been identified, because it slipped through your network perimeter, and your SIM and your SOAR and XDR tools didn't identify it, now it's starting to spread. And you can see that the impact has started to be widespread. And at the end of this, at this point, you might have that phone call from whoever wants to extort you for $5.2 million in Bitcoin, say, hey, we got you, your production data's down. By the way, we've also corrupted your backups. So this is what it's going to cost you to get back up and running. So that's an unprotected. Now I want to contrast that with the IBM methodology and the IBM technologies. So in this illustration, one of the first things you see that is differentiated in the bottom left quadrant is that we're scanning the metadata at the controller level. So this is in hardware at this point. For every, if it's our previous generation SSDs, we sample 1 in 100 writes. If it's our latest generation solid state disk, which we refer to as a flash core module, there is a dedicated processor on every one of those SSDs that's looking at every write in 2-second increments and aggregating that up to what we call an inference engine in the controller. And that inference engine has known signatures and data patterns of known viruses, or not viruses, but hacks and Trojan horses and malware that it's scanning against. It's also looking for delta entropy or changes in your write operation. So if all of a sudden your compression ratios drastically change, or your read-write ratios drastically change. As I mentioned, there are 30 different telemetry points. I'm not going to try and explain them all, but there's deep learning that's taking place at that inference engine and machine learning, so that we can sort through any noise that is just non-threatening, because we don't want to alert on anything and everything, but we only want to alert on significant signals that, again, match these data patterns of known malware.
Hey,
so
John, this is Mike. Does any other flash provider offer that type of technology?
Good question, Mike. No, nobody else. Everybody else in the industry are using industry standard SSDs. So whether they're from Toshiba or Samsung, there's a half a dozen different manufacturers. And the thing that's different here is that IBM owns the IP. We bought a company called Texas Memory Systems
Yep.
about 8 years ago, and there's a microchip on every one of these flash storage devices that's not only doing this rapid threat detection, but we're also doing quantum safe encryption and compression down at the device layer with no impact to performance. And everybody else, if they're doing any kind of this type of function, they're doing it at the controller level, not at the device level. But
Interesting.
I'm not aware of anybody, even at the controller level, that are doing block level pattern anomaly detection and doing early reporting. So this, again, and you have to think about it, IBM developed this for some of the world's largest financial institutions, and you know, they require this level of protection. And IBM, you know, once we develop the IP, we make it available because it's the same software stack on our enterprise systems that we make available down at our entry-level systems.
I like it. I like it a lot.
So now, not only are we going to take that scan and do that alerting, but now we're going to take a thin clone of every one of those point-in-time copies, and we're going to move it over to an isolated clean room that is out of band of the network. And that was, you know, a good guess or answer some of your previous listeners talked to, is the importance of, before you reintroduce a scan or a point-in-time copy or a backup, you want to make sure that what you're restoring is clean,
Right.
and you don't want to reinfect the process. So we have this separate clean room. We're doing a deep scan, and now we're going to invoke the virus. So the virus gets in, and remember the first time, it wasn't detected for quite a period of time. And so it ended up infecting all of the production data. Here it's caught early in the machine learning with the inline data corruption detection. It's isolated and it's moved off and quarantined. We deploy the SOAR tool. We've isolated the workload, and now we've recovered back up to the clean room. And look at this. We're able to find a clean copy that's just a few hours old and restore back to production and contain that virus that was identified. So that's how it works. And you can see, I know that's highly simplified. By the way, we can demonstrate this via WebEx, how it works on a real system. But this is a good sort of overview.
Yeah.
All right, there's a transition question here for question number 2. And Mike, do you want to ask that question?
I am ready. So
Yeah, but one second, before we go on, we have a question. Is the concept of the clean room just to inspect, validate the data, or intended as a room to rebuild, restore a new system and run production from there?
No, it is a temporary holding place. I mean, there's no reason why. It's a temporary cleaning room is what it is. It's a you know, hospital, if you want to think of it that way, a triage. And then once everything is validated, we are going to restore back up to your production workload. We're going to go back to the last clean copy and restore production on your primary system.
Perfect, thank you. All right, back to you, Mike. Let's do it.
So trivia question number 2, which actually is number 4. What's unique about an IBM flash system when it comes to early threat detection no other flash provider has?
Is it A, continuous real-time anonymity scanning at the block level of flash core module? B, built-in antivirus software that no other flash provider includes? C, C, automatically pays any ransom demands immediately? Or D, Physical security guards to protect data center. And this is a threat detection no other flash provider has.
Right.
And let's just end poll and see the results. And we have a continuous real-time anomaly scanning at the black level of FlashCore module. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. All right, back to you, John.
John, I think you got your point across there, John.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I tried to really tee that one up for folks.
Well, it's a fantastic feature.
Thank you. All right, well, this seemed to happen again, that every time I pause and you enter that trivia, my slides don't progress, but let's hope it'll loosen up here in a second again.
I have faith.
There we go. So one of the ways we back this up is IBM actually provides, and this is unique to IBM as well, a 60-second rapid recovery guarantee. So, you know, that is not just to clarify, not necessarily a recovery of full production, but a recovery of a clean, safe copy, as long as you've implemented the full solution with a safeguarded copy in a clean room, that we can guarantee that you can retrieve a clean copy in 60 seconds or less. Now, as long as we're talking about cyber and cyber safety and best practices, one of the things I thought I'd tell you that we're leading the way on is we already have quantum safe encryption. Other companies are catching up on that. Quantum computers it's been determined will be able to crack a lot of the encryption codes that companies are using today. We are working ahead of the game because we have so many government entities that we work with. And again, we're going to provide that quantum encryption down at the device layer. So if you're doing encryption at the software layer or at the controller layer or anywhere else, you'll find that encryption impacts performance, because we do it just like our ransomware detection down at the chip level. And I'll show you a picture of where that chip resides. We don't have any impact on performance when we're encrypting your data at rest. So on the left side of the picture there, you can see this processor ARM FPGA. That's the dedicated microchip that's on every FlashCore module. And that provides the real-time threat detection. I'm just looking at some of the check marks. Zero impact quantum safe encryption for you without any impact on performance. And you know, you don't need to license or pay for encryption from your software provider, because we're doing that for you. And then we also are doing 3-to-1 data compression, and we have a guarantee around that on your data. And again, you'll find that other products, storage products on the market today, during heavy write loads, will have to turn off compression in order to keep up with the write operations. And the negative impact that has is that other brands, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but other brands will require that you keep anywhere from 25% to 35% open space or headroom to allow for those heavy write operations when they're writing non-compressed data down to your device. Because we do it down at the device level itself, we allow you to utilize up to 85% of the storage capacity. We still like to have a little headroom, but you know, it's about a half to a third that of the other manufacturers. And we're still doing the compression, as I've mentioned, at line speeds. So we also have some density advantages. Oh, I guess we've got a trivia question.
Wow.
Unless I inserted this into the wrong place. Let's see here.
Yeah, I think it's at the end.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead then.
And move forward. Yeah.
Let's keep talking about some other cool features to that flash technology. So we have far better density for NVMe technology compared to some of the other manufacturers. And our entry-level system, it's called a Model 5300. We deliver over, and this is using effective capacity with our highest density drives over a petabyte in a 1U enclosure. If you were to compare that to a Dell PowerStore, for them to deliver a petabyte of capacity, they're going to require twice the number of drives. So now you're up to 24 drives and 2 times more rack space. So you've got more cost and support because you're supporting more devices. You've got more power consumption, more heat dissipation, all kinds of environmental issues. So that you take into consideration. And another brand of flash vendor that's out there is Pure Storage, and their comparable model is called an X20, and they require 20 drives to deliver 314 terabytes. So you've got almost twice as many drives delivering a third of the capacity, because they limit you to their smaller drives in some of their entry-level systems, as opposed to IBM, which allows you to use our highest density drives. And within NVMe and flash, there's no advantage to having more devices. It's a parallel architecture. So whether you're running on 12 solid state disks or 20 solid state disks, that doesn't impact your performance like it used to with disk drives in the old days. And if you look at HPE's product, the Altera, again, they require 24 drives and 4 times the space to deliver 300 terabytes or a third of the capacity. So we do really, really well around environmentals, really well around footprint. We do run what's called D-RAID or distributed RAID, which is has extremely fast rebuild times. And it also allows customers to add a single drive at a time if they want to expand, really incrementally. If there's open slots in the system, you'll find all of the other manufacturers, if you want to expand capacity, require that you buy a full tray. So not only are we economical on the front end, but we're economical over time. Here gives you some idea of the economics. This data was pulled from IDC. This is a flash system, again, with approximately a petabyte of capacity. And if you compared that to Dell PowerStore, you'd be paying 2.5 times as much. With Pure, 2.5 times higher. And again, you're going to require a lot more rack space, a lot more power consumptions, and have higher support costs because you're supporting more devices. So we're very we're very attractively priced in the market. How we're able to do that, by the way, is because of those FlashCore modules. One, we build them ourselves. There is no third party like Samsung or Toshiba that we're buying drives from. And secondly, because we put so much of the data management logic down on the device level on the FlashCore module, we require less CPU at the controller level to handle other data management operations. So that's a cost savings for us as well. I wanted to tell you 1 or 2 quick things before we do our final couple of questions and we finish up. Hopefully I'm not running too long.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
IBM has a service called a cyber resiliency assessment. It's typically a $2,500 engagement. It doesn't require that you download any kind of third-party software or anything of that nature. It's not limited to just an IBM environment. We'll look at whatever environment you have today. And what we do is about 1.5 to 2 hour workshop where we engage your IT department as well as your network security team, just 1 or 2 individuals from each of those areas of specialty. And we're going to go through a questionnaire that IBM has developed, where the answers are either yes, no, or partially. So it's not complicated. It's developed around NIST, or the National Institute of Technology Standards, for best practices, so that you can rate yourself in terms of vulnerabilities, strengths that you already have well fortified and well addressed, areas of improvements, perhaps blind spots or gaps where things can be improved. And we can make recommendations through KIS. And, you know, maybe the recommendations will be an IBM product. Maybe it'll be a service or a non-IBM product that KIS can provide you. But I know that we offered at least one and possibly two of these assessments, which I mentioned are typically $2,500 for Mike and the team there at KIS to award to somebody on the call today. So I know some of these have even been used because most clients today are paying for cyber security insurance, and showing that they've had this assessment and showing a solid ranking sometimes can help with rates and things of that nature. So it's a very helpful tool, or even just to show your upper management where you can improve or where you're doing well. It's something I wanted to share with you. These, I just have one or two other slides, and then we can open it up to any final questions. IBM does have a really generous trade-in program, even for legacy storage. So you may have some older devices. Maybe you still have spinning disk. Maybe you have a flash system that's, you know, 5 or 6 years old, and you either want to dispose of it safely. We have that service, or in many cases, we will buy them back and repurpose them. I don't know exactly how they're repurposed. They don't go on the gray market or anything like that, but they are safely repurposed, and you have up to 9 months. Now, I should, you know, clarify, this is if you purchase a new IBM system,
Right.
that we have this trade-in capability, and KIS has the tools to do both quoting on the new system as well as give you an accurate trade-in of your old system. You can keep them up to 9 months after the delivery of your new IBM system to do a full, you know, data migration and wipe your data and so forth. And then we'll schedule the pickup and everything from there. We did just offer a new program that a couple of our competitors have, which is a perpetual assurance when you buy a new system. If you want to protect yourself from escalating maintenance costs once you get out of a warranty period, or you want to just assure yourself you never end up with terminal code where you can't upgrade to the latest code level, or you can't get the latest drives to expand that array, we have a program called Storage Assurance. And it just guarantees over, we offer it in both 4-year and 8-year periods, that if you ever got to that point, IBM would, no charge to you, non-disruptively replace your existing system with a brand new system. And it's not just at the controller level, it's all the drives as well, because we have a lot of technology that we put into those FlashCore modules. So it's a very attractive program. We have various consumption models like storage as a service, et cetera. And then lastly, we now offer a 2-week trial program on our entry-level systems, the 52 and the 7300. No contracts are required. We do require that we understand your environment and what you want to test. And that can also be orchestrated through KIS. And that is my final slide.
Excellent. Good job, John.
Thank you.
A lot of data there. A lot of great information. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So Jen, we have one additional trivia question. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So here we go.
And then we'll answer questions. Yes.
Open it up for questions. Yeah.
Yep.
So trivia question: what's unique about the IBM methodology for safe, rapid recovery?
Is methodology requires manual data entry for restoring all files. Continuous integrity, scanning of immutable, a snapshot of isolated clean room for safe, rapid recovery. IBM's methodology relies on the frequent
Methodology.
system methodology, yes, relies on the frequent system reboots to ensure security and physical backup tapes that are transported daily to an offsite location. All right, and cool. And we have B, continuous integrity, scanning of immutable, snapshot of isolated clean room for safe, rapid recovery, 90%. Is that correct?
That is correct. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes,
dang, dang.
correct. Correct. Awesome. All right. So let's open up for questions, and we do have questions already coming in. One is the trade-in program for competitors brands. Is
Yes.
there a trade-in or only IBM?
No, it could be any brand of storage. Well, there are a few exceptions, but very few. All the major brands. So, we take back NetApp, HPE, Pure, Dell.
Dell.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the major brands.
No Radio Shack?
No Radio Shack. Sorry about that.
All right, next question is and then thank you to answer that question. Is safeguarded copy an extra charge or only supported on your high-end models?
Good question. No extra charge whatsoever for safeguarded copy. And it is available. We have some very low-end models that I didn't even talk about, but on all of our NVMe, which is 90% of what people are acquiring today. So even the one that I showed that was over a petabyte and less than $70,000 would have safeguarded copy built into it.
Thank you.
And by the way, again, just as a reminder, if you want to externally virtualize, if you have some legacy storage and you want to use that IBM flash array to virtualize that storage, then we can extend safeguarded copy onto anything we're externally virtualizing.
Understood. All right, thank you. So, and then it could be that you have already answered this question, but does your cyber resilience solution requires the purchase of multiple arrays?
No, you can do it on a single array. And that is a unique differentiator. I know Dell, for example, requires 2 of their Power Vault systems. And yeah, we can do it on a single system, and we're doing that recovery on array. And that's what makes it so much faster, is that it's a point-in-time copy. It's not a backup copy, and it's on array. So we're recovering in a fraction of the amount of time of other methodologies.
See, thank you, John. We have does IBM provides a guarantee around recovery time of an immutable copy?
Yeah, we have a 60-second data guarantee. That one does require IBM installation because we want to make sure that everything's set up properly. But it's very affordable, and that's just one requirement for it. But as I mentioned, it's not full recovery to production, but it's the first initial step. And let's face it, everybody's on a journey for cyber recovery, and everybody has a budget and an existing environment. So it's a journey. It's not a turnkey. Yeah.
We have a few more, which is great. Thanks for the questions, everybody. How is IBM able to achieve such a fast restore from an immutable copy?
Again, because that restore is happening on array. So you can imagine, let's say you had 10 or 20 or 50 terabytes of impacted data, and you were going to try and recover that over the network. You know, that can literally take days. But because we're doing flash copies and they're on array, that now you're talking seconds to minutes.
Understood. Why is it important to scan immutable snapshots and backups?
Well, because we can't guarantee that the last snapshot that was taken wasn't infected as well. So you need to have that continuous data scanning to happen. What we can guarantee about that immutable snapshot is that it can't be changed. But if your production workload that we're snapshotting has somehow become corrupted or impacted, then that snapshot potentially. So you want to continually scan your snapshots so you know your last clean one to recover from.
And we have one more question, I think, and we can wrap this up. If you use a clean room, is it assumed that you need a second array in the clean room to receive a copy of immutable data?
Yes, the clean room will have, it's not a second, it doesn't even have to be an IBM array. We'd love it if it was, but the clean room can be, you know, any storage vendor. Again, it's physically isolated and it's going to restore back to your production IBM flash array.
All right, I think that's it for today. And thank you so much, John, Mike, for participating today and taking time for this webinar. Thank you so much for staying a little bit. I know we got a little bit over, but we had great questions. So thanks, John. Do you last words?
Oh, just no, I'm so grateful to be in partnership with KIS and for allowing us to share what's new at IBM, and grateful to all of your customers and guests that spent an hour or 45 minutes with us today learning what's new. I hope you'll reach back out to your seller or engineer at KIS and ask about next steps and see where we can go from here.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much, Mike. Any last words?
You guys, go out and have a great day.
Yeah. Yes, thanks all. Have a nice
All
day.
right. You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.